Okay, so what I want to talk about in this video and demonstrate is the potential that oil paint has to be used in a sculptural way. So breaking the surface with paint. And so in using both thick and thin applications of paint, you're able to create a much greater feeling of dimension and depth in your painting, so that you're not just limited by only color and very thin applications of paint, but that oil paint has so much potential to be used to describe different surfaces, different textures, and it can be so visually interesting just on its own. You know, oil paint is just fun. You know, you're moving it around on your surface or on your palette. It just has such a physical, interesting quality to it. And so I'll demonstrate on a little panel and just kind of show you guys what I want to express. Okay, so something that's very common, especially when people begin painting, is to make it's like the need to make everything very smooth and very flat. So like we're always trying to make, you know, brush strokes, and with everything you do, you want to make, you know, beautiful and interesting pieces of paint. And so when people begin painting, there's a very strong urge, instead of, you know, making a brushstroke and leaving paint, there's a very strong urge, the need to go back and smooth everything out. And so making very smooth, flat, you know, flat paint. And as I said, it's almost like a psychological thing, that the need to smooth everything out and just give the kind of seamless appearance, rather than using paint, both thick and thin applications of paint, to create a greater feeling of dimension. And so what I have now is, of course, a very flat section of paint. And so what I want to demonstrate is, so just in using the same value and color, but that in applying a thicker piece of paint, that immediately will become more interesting, and the viewer will be more compelled to look there. So like in just applying thicker pieces of paint and breaking the surface with paint, it becomes much more visually interesting, and there's so much potential for paint to be used in a sculptural way. So like anytime you're breaking the surface of your painting, so of course it's a two-dimensional surface, when you break that surface with paint, it opens up so much more potential for greater depth, as I said, greater dimension, more descriptive things, so using paint to describe different textures, different surfaces. And so with that, just like that information alone, you can do so many things. So like one example is like, so in a foreground, so like the nearest part of that foreground, you have, you know, like a thicker piece of paint. And then as that foreground recedes and goes back in paint in space, you could use thinner applications of paint. Okay, so thinner will go back. And then using your ground as well. So like that just cooling off and becoming, you know, less descriptive. And so like just in doing that, like, you know, this, having the feeling that it's more near than this. And so it's just one thing, it's like another tool in the toolbox, to use paint to direct the viewer's eye. And as I said, you can do like playful things, like just having, you know, an interesting piece of paint, and then it kind of trickling off, and it's always thinking in terms of like more versus less, okay? And so like in shadows, for instance, where you wouldn't want the viewer to necessarily focus on or you know, look, so shadows being like using much smoother pieces of paint and softer kind of feeling in the shadows will give that feeling that it's receding. You know, it wouldn't be conducive to your painting to really put like impasto in your shadow. Okay? But that, like in areas of the light or where things are more near, or you want the feeling that they're more near to you, just applying paint in a thicker way, you know, using like broken color and more descriptive things, that will give the feeling that it's more near to you. And so, as I said, oil paint is such a physically interesting thing. And so that you're not limited by just using color and drawing with color, but that you're always trying to make, you know, interesting pieces of paint. And so I hope this has been helpful to you guys. I want to make more videos like this, and if you have any suggestions, please let me know. If you have any questions, please let me know. I really enjoy answering questions, so I hope this video has been helpful to you guys.